Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the continuation of our adjourned council meeting. Read a disclaimer that the City of Swan disclaims any liability for any loss arising from any person or body relying on any statement, discussion, recommendation or decision made during this meeting. Where an application for an approval, a licence or the like is considered or determined during this meeting, the City warns that neither the applicant nor any other person or body should rely upon that discussion or determination until written notice of either an approval and the conditions which relate to it or the refusal of the application has been issued by the City. Please note that this meeting is being live streamed. Recording will also be archived and made available on the City's website or the Council's website after the meeting. Conditions of entry: no electronic, visual or audio recording or transmitting device or instrument is permitted to be used. A person who breaches the provision of the City of Swan Meeting Procedures Local Law 2019 will be required to immediately leave the premises. Attendance and apologies. We have Councillor Dominic on leave. Any other apologies, Mr CEO? I know Councillor Richardson running late, I assume. No others? No. Declaration of financial and proximity interest and interest affecting partiality. All those items have been dealt with those, I think. Where are we at to now?
1.5C.
Yep. Quickly, Councillor will have one announcement to make, and on behalf of the Council of the City of Swan, congratulate Mr Leon Vanderlyn on his successful appointment as Executive Manager of Planning and Development. Congratulations, Leon. Okay, that takes us
Mr Mayor, I've just been advised by Councillor Richardson that she'd like to get into the building. Can we arrange for someone to help her?
Can someone race down? Leon Leary. Okay. Councillors, C1.5 is Councillor Johnson's City's policy controlling the use of herbicides and pesticides on city-owned land. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My motion is that Council resolve to request the CEO to report on creating a city policy controlling the use of herbicides and pesticides on city-owned land, including land that the City has let to a tenant. The reason for the motion is that the City has advised on the 1st of July 2020 that the City does not have a policy covering the use of herbicides and pesticides. The environmental impact of herbicides and pesticides is significant, and community expectation is that herbicides and pesticides be controlled by a policy reviewed at regular intervals by Council.
Second, Councillor Scanlon. Is there anyone against? There is anyone else against? Do you wish to debate it, Councillor Henson? No? Okay. Okay, put those in favour. That'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 to 2. Is that correct? No, more than that. 9 to 4. Try it again. It was 9. 9 in favour. 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 3. Motion's carried. C.
I just want to sort of let you know that I want to raise a motion tonight to bring the confidential motion out of confidential. I just wanted to raise that, just let you know. I'll try to do it earlier.
Okay, we can get to that.
You raced into the... Yeah, okay, thanks.
C1.6, Councillor Henderson, drainage study.
Oh, look at that, the switch works tonight. Thank you, staff, for fixing that up. Councillors, I move that Council resolve to undertake a drainage study in Basketball in the area generally bound by Hadwell Road, Great Northern Highway, Railway Crescent and Beryl Avenue. The study should identify options to address flooding concerns in the area. And 3, prepare a report to a future council meeting so that the options from the study can be considered.
Okay, second it.
Just a question, Mayor, if I could.
Question. Well, I've got a seconder in Councillor Zanino. Yes, question, Councillor.
What sort of cost would that be for Council to undertake that study?
CEO.
Okay. Apologies, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I've moved in a second. Is there any against? The question, Councillor Congerton.
Is it estimated that... Sorry. My apologies. Mr Mayor, the $30,000 estimate to carry out this study is to go in out of municipal funds, or is it out of a draft budget for the following year?
Mr CEO.
It'll be out of this year's budget, Mr Mayor.
Any further questions? Okay. Is there anyone against the motion? No, there is? Do you wish to debate? No wish to debate. Okay. No. Councillor McCulloch.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, just an amendment for city staff to undertake a drainage study.
Is that okay with the mover and the seconder? Yep, okay. That becomes part of the
Thank
motion.
you.
Us again. If there's no one against, we'll put it straight to who would debate. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Also, Councillor Henderson on C 1.7, the State of the Economy current budget.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, I move that CEO facilitate a meeting of Executive, Council and other appropriate staff to assess the state of the economy and any implications on the current budget, identifying areas to investigate for savings, and that the findings and associated implications be incorporated into the February 2021 budget workshop.
Seconder? There is. Councillor Johnson, I think your hand was first. Is anyone against? No one against. We declare it carried. C 1.8, Councillor Kiley, Echo Newspaper editorial. I'll hand over to the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Kiley, if you could read your motion, please.
Councillors, my motion is that Council resolve to request the CEO place a paid notice in the Midland Echo newspaper, which is titled City of Swan Notice of Clarification, which makes clear the advertorial placed by the City of Swan Mayor Kevin Bailey, published on July 3rd, 2020, is not a position held by the elected council, and just cross out or, and that the elected council were not aware of the Mayor's intention to publish that statement. 2, request that this notice make clear that the advertorial was only an opinion piece by Councillor Bailey, and that this notice of clarification has been approved for publication by the elected council of the City of Swan. And 3, spend city funds to an amount not greater but as close to $400, including GST, to pay for the appropriately sized placement of the notice anywhere within pages 1 through to 5 of the next possible Midland Echo edition.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Johnson. Is there anyone against? There is. Do you wish to debate it? Councillor Catalano.
Yes, actually. I'd like to debate it, thank you.
So you're against the motion?
Yes.
Thank you. You have 5 minutes to start your debate, Councillor Kiley.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillors, in proposing this motion, I am conscious of a 6-9 divide within this council, or a perceived 6-9 divide, and that we may be perceived as at times dysfunctional, and at some times there are perceptions out there.
Point of order, Mr Deputy Mayor.
What's your point of order? Thank you,
I think
Councillor
Councillor
Bailey.
Kiley's comments there bring this council in disrepute. Therefore, it's a defamatory comment against this council.
Well, I'll ask Councillor Kiley to be respectful of all councillors and remind everyone that the city's budget was passed 12-3, not 9-6. Thank you. If you can continue.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and I did clarify that, Mayor, by saying that there's a perception out there at the times that this council is dysfunctional, and that there are perceptions out there that we are at war with ourselves.
Deputy Mayor, that's not a correct statement. Not everyone in the community thinks we're dysfunctional. I find that
Well,
That is correct.
abhorrent.
Not everybody.
thank you, councillors. I'd like Councillor Kiley to be able to have his 5 minutes of debate without continued interruption, and will only accept valid points of order. He did say there was a perception, and I think that perception may be out there because it's on everyone's Facebook pages, because I keep getting emails about it. So if we can allow Councillor Kiley to continue, but I do ask you stick to the relevant points. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillors, my intent is not to bring this council into disrepute or to seek advantage or disadvantage for any councillor. I'm simply asking that we clarify the position of this council within an advertisement within the Echo, to clarify what was actually being said, because there is a definite perception out there when you put an advertorial in the Echo newspaper or any newspaper that it's from the Mayor of the City of Swan, that it is a council-held position, and that's simply not the case. The role of the Mayor, councillors, and I'll just remind you, the role of the Mayor is to speak on behalf of the local government. That's within the Local Government Act. But it certainly doesn't warrant the Mayor or give the Mayor permission to go out and have carte blanche and say anything that he potentially wants to say to the broader community. It's just not his position, and I don't think we should be allowing the Mayor to do that going forward, and we should be making it clear that that is an inappropriate use of his position heading up this council. I'm not saying that everything he said in his advertorial was false. However, it's certainly drawn the ire of state MPs in what he did say, and there was statements put out by state MPs that dispelled much of what the Mayor had actually said. And I want to go into some of what the Mayor said. He said he calls out to our state leaders to show some respect and support. I just find this immediately a deplorable statement and somewhat condescending in speaking about our state MPs and the state Labor government in this way, whether it's a Labor government or a Liberal government. I don't think we should be doing that, and especially it shouldn't be coming from the Mayor. He goes on to say, I've never been more infuriated by a state government. I just don't think this is a statement that should be put out into the press. He goes on to say that it demonstrates our state's top ministers don't understand the rate-setting process. This is just... I can't see how he could broadly tar all state ministers with that brush. The advertorial goes on, and I'm sure you've all read it. There's also, he brings Midland Oval into the whole issue, or I assume it's Midland Oval. He talks about the current legislation preventing council from entering into significant business ventures with the intent to drive profit to offset rates. Council, you all know we have gone into a business venture in developing Midland Oval, taking a community-owned asset, putting a road through it, selling it and putting it on the market. We've spent, in rough figures, probably $50 million in rough figures, and we've probably got $10 million in as a result of going into this venture. It's not true that we can't undertake business ventures. Midland Oval is a prime example, and when we have done that, we've ended up with a $40 million, well, we're $40 million in arrears at the moment, in rough figures.
Point of order, Mr Deputy Mayor, I'm sorry.
Yeah, point of order, Councillor Henderson.
I think there's misleading statement in what's just been provided.
Well, it's Councillor Kiley's debate, and you can counter debate that when it's your turn. Thank you. Continue, Councillor Kiley.
Thank you. Councillors, my understanding is that we should maintain cordial and respectful working relationships with the state government. This cannot be guaranteed if we allow the Mayor, no matter who the Mayor is, to go ahead and put such advertorials in local papers or in the media. I cannot stand by and let this slip, and it has not gone unnoticed by the state government, as you can see by the press releases they've also made. The comments by the Mayor are deplorable, and they are not the view of this council. He had no right, in my view, to put those statements in the paper.
You have 30 seconds left.
Can I ask you, Deputy Mayor, who's actually recording? Because I've been interrupted numerous times.
And every time you're interrupted, I stop my timer. I'll give you an extra 15 seconds because I was a bit slow stopping it then. So you've got 35 seconds left. Thank you.
We need to put the record straight, councillors. I'm not happy about these statements. We're not seeking a retraction. We are simply asking that we set the record straight by getting a point of clarification. We cannot blame the state government for the rate increases, and this article sets out to do that. It was this council that decided to increase the rates, not the state government. A motion was put forward, an alternative budget was put forward by Councillor Johnson, which showed that we could have met the community expectations in terms of a rate increase or decrease. However, this council chose to increase the rates on
Thank you, Councillor Kiley. That's your 5 minutes. Councillor Johnson is the seconder. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr Presiding Member. I'd like to begin just by asking a question, if I may have your indulgence, Mr Presiding Member, of the Mayor, Kevin Bowley. Mr Mayor, can you advise, is this statement speaking for the city?
It's an opinion piece written and paid for by myself, Councillor. If you read it, there is no comment there that the city says, or it's the council's opinion.
All right. So it says Mayor Kevin Bailey, City of Swan. So that does that not imply that you're speaking for the city?
I think it qualifies my ability to speak to the rates and the issue, Councillor.
So I guess it's either one or the other. Are you speaking for the city, or are you speaking in your personal capacity?
Well, I've answered the question, Councillor.
Well, I think people watching this wouldn't be able to understand the answer, Mr Mayor. I certainly haven't been
Then
able
I'll
to
do
follow
it
it.
very slowly for your benefit.
Have you got a yes or a
Councillor
no?
Johnson.
Are you speaking for the city?
It's an opinion piece written by myself and qualified to give that opinion, in my experience on council, paid for by myself as an advertorial.
Okay. I think that explains it. Look, Mr Presiding Member, the Mayor has identified himself as Mayor Kevin Bailey, City of Swan. And I think anybody, although he's paid for this advert himself, anybody reading it would reasonably assume that it is a statement on behalf of the city, because he's stating that he's the Mayor. It's a difficult thing to take away your mayorship and just say, oh, it's my personal opinion. It doesn't say at the top, this is just my personal opinion. I'm not speaking as the Mayor. If you're the Mayor and you're putting something in a newspaper, you're speaking on behalf of the city. That is the role of the Mayor. It's very difficult to take that, if you like, mayorship away from you as the Mayor. And I've been in meetings, I remember with Councillor Lucas when he was the Mayor, when I remember one occasion, put on a spot, decided not to talk about something because it was impossible for him to speak because he was the Mayor. So, councillors, this, in my view, although Councillor Bailey has explained to us that no, it's just his personal opinion, he paid for it himself, actually he's identified himself as the Mayor. So, people would reasonably assume that that this is a mayoral statement on behalf of the city. So then I guess the question is, as Councillor Kiley has pointed out, is this something that we as a council have, through our resolutions, determined is our policy? So you'd have to look at it, and you'd have to look at this statement, I've never been more infuriated by a state government. Now, that's clearly a personal statement, but he's speaking as the Mayor. Is that our policy? Are we, as a council, as a city, are we infuriated by the state government? I don't think we are. I think the state government is the state government, and it gives us money that is needed to support our electors, residents and ratepayers and the operations of the city. So a statement like that, I don't think is entirely what I'd expect from a mayor. And then it goes on, I'm not sure if they're antics. Now, is it appropriate to describe the state government's processes and statements as antics, especially at a time like this? I don't think so. And it goes on to say, designed to mislead ratepayers, or if they are simply misinformed. Councillors, I don't think this is speaking is not what you'd expect from a mayor, and it's a bit of a disappointment because the implication is that this is something that we have approved somehow through past resolutions of council. Well, I can assure, I'm pretty sure that council would think that no, we don't agree with this. Then we go on to say the misleading statements that local government...
You have 1 minute left, Councillor Johnson.
...has the ability to totally control the rates. Well, councillors, we don't totally control the rates because we don't control the valuation, but we do control the rate in the dollar and we do control the budget. And I think the idea that somehow we're just completely all at sea, we're rudderless, we don't know where we're going, is simply not true. We had a valid option in front of us when we debated the budget. We could have put out a budget that would have meant that only 1,000 ratepayers' rates would go up, but instead 1/3 of our ratepayers' rates have gone up. That's 22,000 councillors. We had a valid choice and we chose not to make it. So it's no use blaming the state government because people's rates have gone up and councillors are getting emails that they're finding a bit uncomfortable answering. It's a fairly simple matter. It is not. It is within our control. We can control it to a significant degree. And it says here, some properties will increase, most will decrease. Well, I think the answer is 22,000 properties rates are going up.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. That's your 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Councillor Catalano, speaking against.
Yes, thank you. I must say I was a little bit confused by the advertorial piece as well. I wasn't quite sure whether there was whether it was personal opinion or whether actually it was supposed to be made on behalf of the city. But the reason why I opposed this today is, and I just want to say if I was confused, I'm sure a lot of other people were as well, but the reason why I've opposed this today is because I wanted to hear arguments as to whether this was the correct means by which to deal with this issue, and I'm not sure that this is necessarily the best way. So I wanted to hopefully in the debate hear as to whether this is the correct process, because I'm not sure that it is, and that's the reason why I opposed it, so we could have a debate on the matter, so that it could assist me in making up my mind. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'll remind all councillors that I believe our standing orders, and don't ask me to quote, and I'll refer to one of the staff, but we don't normally withdraw something to debate it for the sake of debate, and that's, I think, has happened here. So I'll leave it at that, but I'd ask in future that no councillors just withdraw a motion to say they wanted to hear what the debate was, because that's against our standing order. So, okay, Speaker for the motion. Question, Councillor Scanlon.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. My question to the staff through you is to follow up on Councillor Catalano's query. Is this appropriate for the city to put a statement out, or is there a more appropriate way to deal with this?
Well, I don't know if any staff could answer that. As the Mayor has said, it was an opinion piece by himself, paid for by himself, and clearly advertised as an advertorial, and I don't think it would be proper to ask a staff whether any councillor could put a advertorial in any newspaper. Thank you. The Speaker for the motion. Speaker against the motion. Councillor McNamara, you have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Councillor Kiley's motion reminds me of the various statements that Councillor Kiley made since he came onto this council. Every single one of them, from the point of view, were made on behalf of the ratepayers. He pontificated in various debates from the point of view that he was looking after the residents and the ratepayers. I read every single word of Councillor Bailey's, and I'll mention him as the Mayor Bailey, because we can't change that. That's exactly what he is the Mayor and nothing else. So his title cannot be taken away from him only by a vote by this particular body. He is the Mayor, and he has the right to speak on behalf of himself. And as he said, he paid for this, and he actually spoke on behalf of himself. Every single word was agreeing with what Councillor Kiley had been saying since he got on council, looking after the ratepayers. Every single word in that particular advert was actually looking after the ratepayers, looking for state government help to look after our ratepayers. And that's it. I can't really, it really boggles my mind to actually to understand why one would disagree with this particular statement. It's not, and I'd like to hear from somebody. Is it the words, is it the statement, or is it the person that made the statement? Which is it going to be? You can't have both. You can't have your cake and eat it. Either that you disagree with the words, and then you pontificate no more from the point of view of the ratepayers and helping out the residents of this particular of this particular council. Anyway, I have said on numerous occasions in this council and asked staff on numerous occasions that the only way we will get anything from the state government is by telling them that we need it, and by telling them that you're not doing a good job. I said it here. I've asked a question of staff. can we actually tell the state government to actually help us out with the waste disposal costs, with the electricity costs and many other costs that the state government impose on us. Not one, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, did the state government come and help us out as a local government from the point of view of helping our ratepayers reduce the rates. Only to tell us, reduce your rates. That's exactly what. And just to make it quite clear, my colour of politics is in government at the moment. So I have no input from whatever from the point of view of a political situation. As far as I'm concerned, this state government and any other state government do not help local government, only tell them what to do and pontificate, just as some of our councillors pontificate, are supposedly looking after the ratepayers and the residents. I say no more, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker for the motion. Councillor Scanlon, you have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I won't take that long at all. I'd just like to comment that from my perspective, this is certainly nothing personal against Mayor Bailey. This is just about the perception, this is the council's view of the state government. I'm concerned that the community feel that the City of Swan are angry with the state government, are disappointed with the state government, and I feel it reflects badly on us when we look to the state government for funding. It is certainly nothing personal. I'm not pontificating, and I'm voting in favour of this motion simply so that we can correct that misperception from the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker against the motion, Councillor Congdon, you have 5 minutes. Thank you.
I won't take. Sorry. I won't take that long, Mr. Acting Mayor. Sorry. In the first paragraph of Councillor Kiley's resolution, it makes a statement: a position is not a position held by the elected council. Well, I don't know whether it is or isn't a position of the elected council. I would certainly concur with a lot of comments made by the Mayor at the time that the rate process was very difficult for this council. But it's not the first or the last time that a Mayor of any local government has placed a challenge against any of the state governments, or in fact the federal government on occasions. And I'd be quite happy to recant some of those for you a bit later on if you wish by email, where we have come out and said, we think you're doing it wrong. And yes, there has been some backlash of, yep, we probably did and we should fix it. So I don't know that they're going to hold this against the City of Swan. Some of them take it with a punch against the face, like maybe the Deputy Mayor did one day, and we all just move on. But the other thing that raises its little ugly head for me is if we were to sanction the Mayor, and I don't know whether the advertorial was sent in as Kevin Bailey, whether the reporter decided to name it Mayor Bailey, because the reporter has the licence to do lots of things with comments. But we also have numerous councillors posting on Facebooks and other social media constantly, which could be deemed to be detrimental to lots of things, but we don't do anything about it, or some have done some things about it, but in the main nothing gets done and we go, okay, let's move on. I'm not going to go home and lose sleep over this. We just do what we do. I don't think there's a need here at all that we should proceed to put a notification of paper that would suggest that Councillor Mayor Bailey has done anything wrong other than provide comment personally.
Thank you. Speaker for the motion. Speaker against the motion. Councillor Bailey, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I'll make this point. prior to the budget process, I'm not going to tell a joke, Councillor Johnson, I, along with a number of mayors within the Perth metropolitan area, campaigned very heavily with the state government ministers to honour a request made by the Premier of this state, Mr Mark McGowan, who, by the way, is doing an outstanding job in this COVID crisis, where he stated very clearly, he requested local governments to freeze rates and charges. Freeze. Not reduce, freeze. So we campaigned through Walga, and I was very vocal, and you all read letters that I wrote, very clearly said, fine, we're happy to do that. The model you can give us to ensure that no ratepayers get a rate increase, that all ratepayers' rates will be the same as last year, is to defer the revaluations to next year. It could have been done. The Premier asked us, wrote to both the Treasurer and the Minister for Local Government. In defence of Mr Templeman, I understand that he actually wrote the legislation to present to Parliament to do exactly that, was overruled by the Treasurer. On request of a reason why they couldn't do it. Not once did we get a response. Not once from anyone to say we can't do it because. Subsequently, we find out that you can do it because valuations for the regional areas have been deferred till next year. So, on behalf of all of our ratepayers, I campaigned, along with other mayors, very heavily to ensure that no ratepayer anywhere in Perth or West Australia got a rate increase. In fact, that their rates would be exactly the same as last year. Exactly the same, and we were not given a reason why they couldn't be. So what I wrote in my opinion piece was my frustration and opinion. And I can tell you that a number of those mayors that I campaigned with wrote back and said, well done, the article was right on the money. Now, if any of our state members are offended by that, I find it difficult, hard to believe, because they work in a tough environment. But since that editorial went out and their retraction, we're getting phone calls from our local members saying, can we come and see you because it's an election year? And we have an announcement from Jess Shaw in regards to the Allan Brook Youth Service this week about funding. So I doubt very much that any state member is offended. But I will tell you this, councillors, I will defend the position of this council, its councillors and our ratepayers at every opportunity against any government, whether they're red, black, blue or green. And I will not back down on that stance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other speakers for or against? Question, Councillor Scanlon.
Through you, Mr Deputy Mayor, I'd like to ask the Mayor, did you state, Mr Mayor, that it is your opinion and just your opinion in the advertorial?
Councillor, I'm sure you read it. The word I was mentioned plenty of times. There was no mention of council. I've answered the question, Councillor.
Thank you. I have a question, Councillor Johnson. I thought I'd written it down, but in your debate, did you say 1/3 of the ratepayers' rates went up?
I meant to say residential ratepayers' rates went up.
1/3?
22,000, which I believe is 1/3.
Thank you. I'll now start the clock for myself because I'll be speaking against the motion. Councillors, as you're all aware, rates are very complicated. I read the opinion piece and that's exactly what I thought it was, but I also checked to make sure that the city did not pay for the advertorial, and once I was satisfied myself of that, I had no issue with it. So Councillor Johnson stated that 1/3 of the rates went up in residential areas, which means 2/3 of the rates went down. So in this instance there were some losers, but there were twice as many winners, and I believe most of the residential rates in the Midland area and Beachborough have gone down. I know that mine have gone down somewhere in the vicinity of $140. We made a conscious decision. An alternative motion was put forward on the night we adopted the rates, the 1st of July, by Councillor Johnson, and that motion did not get up. But at the end of the debate about the adopting the budget, Councillor Johnson in fact supported it. As in fact, the only three councillors who did not support it were Councillor Catalano, Councillor Kiley and Councillor Prodovnik. So it was moved 12-3. And to me, that's where it ends. We adopted a budget. There were some winners. In fact, there's twice as many winners than there were people who had to pay more. And as far as telling the state government what to do, I felt very embarrassed when this council directed the CEO to write to the Minister for Planning, telling her to change the alignment of the Ellenbrook railway line. So we do have some conflict with state governments from time to time, but I think if it's done openly, not behind or anything done in secret, if we're clear about the message we want to get through, then I think that's good, healthy debate. So I'll finish it there, and then I'll ask Councillor Kiley for his right to reply. Thank you. You have 3 minutes, Councillor Kiley.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I firstly want to commend the Mayor for what he did on Channel 9, I believe last night. I actually filmed the segment on Channel 9 when the Mayor spoke about Cleanaway, and he spoke...
Point of order, Councillor Kiley. What you've just mentioned has got nothing to do with the debate we're discussing now.
It has a lot to do with the debate,
It has
Mayor,
nothing to do...
Because the Mayor spoke on behalf of Council, and he spoke on the position of Council in regard to Cleanaway. And I'll move to this debate, back to this debate, if you like.
Thank you. You can keep on point.
That. However, in respect of this advertorial, he did not speak on behalf of this council, and the views he expressed were not the position held by this council. It is not his role to do that. He cannot and should not do that for the sake of misrepresenting this council, who he has undertaken to represent as mayor. Councillor Lucas, you mentioned about Councillor Henderson's motion to change the realignment of the railway line, but I believe in the letter we sent to the Minister Safiotti, we didn't degrade or put down or tell them that you have double standards and you've turned your back on us and a whole range of things like that. The letter was quite polite, and I have no problem with the Mayor or any other councillor campaigning to state members of Parliament or challenging the state government on how they do things. And I congratulate the Mayor and encourage him to continue campaigning to state members and state ministers to work for better outcomes from the city. But when Councillor McNamara says goes on to say, what has the state government done? They put out a press release in relation to the advertorial. It said the state and federal governments have contributed a record amount of infrastructure spending into the city of Swan, including the Ellenbrook rail line, Northlink, New Lord Street, Reed Highway duplication, Nangara Road duplication, Lloyd Street extension, Great Eastern Highway upgrades, and other works across the council area. The fact is,
you have 1 minute left,
that the state government has done a lot for this council and continues to do a lot. They are putting record amount of money into this council, and we need to work with them. And I don't believe what the Mayor has done by putting this advertorial out it jeopardises that going forward. It pains me to put this motion up. However, I think we need to make it clear that this was the Mayor's position. He clarified that it was an opinion piece paid for by himself. However, the community don't know that. The community just do not know that. It is not a retraction. It is simply a clarification on our position, and I encourage you to vote for the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now put the motion. Those in favour? I have 4, being Councillor Richardson, Councillor Scanlon, Councillor Johnson and Councillor Kiley. Everyone else was against. The motion is lost. Thank you. I'll now hand back to the Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. That that takes us now to notice of motion for consideration at the following meeting, if given during this meeting. We've already received some. Okay. Sorry, Councillor Cameron.
Move your motion out of confidential.
Yes. I'd like to propose at the next meeting, and I'll put it to send it to all councillors tonight, that we Council resolves not to go ahead with the mayoral dinner next year. And I'll put that to Council tonight. I'll put it to send it off to everyone tonight.
King Street one. You need to put that up now.
And the other thing is, I wanted to move a motion that, as I said earlier, that this confidential item comes out of confidential.
Okay, do I have a seconder? We do, okay. Is there anyone against it coming out from behind closed doors? Councillor Lucas, wish to debate it?
I'm just getting the folder to see. It's the Midland Oval one, isn't it? The Keene Street. 3 point.
Page 6.
Yes, I'm against.
Okay.
Mayor, can I ask if staff have got any opinion on whether it could be brought out of confidential? I know I've seconded it, but I'd still like that opinion.
Okay.
Really up to council, Mr Mayor.
Pretty much up to council, I think. So, do we wish to debate it, Councillor Lucas? Yes?
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Catalano?
Yes, thank you. Well, there's a few reasons I've got for putting this motion. Firstly, a lot of ratepayers are quite upset by the amount of items that we have in confidential. And I understand when there's good reasons, like there's some particular contract with a third party and their identity and the content of what's being negotiated at any particular time shouldn't be disclosed because it may jeopardise what is currently under discussion in negotiations. But I don't see that this is the case with item 3.6. Now, I'm going to mention what it's about. I don't think that's going to breach confidentiality, is it, if I mention that it's about a City of Swan property and that actually ratepayers should know what's going to be decided about this particular property that's owned by the City of Swan. And I can't see any particular reason why they shouldn't know how council decides on it. I believe there's a number of reasons given, and I can rattle them off, which is that it has to be confidential, put in the confidential as a confidential item because somehow or other, if it wasn't, there'd be an impairment of the effectiveness of any lawful method for dealing with a possible contravention of the law. Or the other one is, another item is that it's endangering the security of the local government property. And finally, prejudice the maintenance or enforcement of a lawful measure for protecting public safety. Well, honestly, do not see that there's any public safety issues in respect of this council-owned property. I don't see that the security the discussion that we'd have would endanger the security of the property when, in fact, the council decision itself may, in fact, endanger the security of the government property. And as far as dealing with any possible contravention of the law, I'm assuming that this is about possible squatting of a council property, but I'm sure that the last people possibly in the whole of the City of Swan to read the minutes and to know about the decision that's made by council is going to be squatters, whereas legitimate ratepayers want to know. So, council, please bring this out of confidential so that everybody can see how we're deciding these issues around City of Swan held property, and by that I mean real property. real estate, and I think it's something that they're interested. Well, I know it's something that ratepayers are interested in, and I think that they should know how we decide on it. And I think that there's no endangering of that property by our bringing it out into the open. I don't think there's any risk to public safety, or that we couldn't actually enforce any decision that we make in respect of that piece of real estate. So that's my argument, and I think we should just vote with bringing it out and making it transparent and open. Our decisions should be open and accountable, transparent. We've got nothing to hide, and we only make it look like we have got something to hide if we keep all these things unnecessarily behind closed doors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Catalani. Councillor Kiley.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, I also encourage you to bring this out of confidential. At the end of the day, this property belongs to the ratepayer. It's the ratepayer's property. I think they'd be interested in seeing how we deal with some of these issues, and I don't see a need for it to be in confidential. There is talk of indicative costs, but they are indicative costs only. They are not final. It certainly gives us a ballpark to work with. So I encourage you to bring this out of confidential. We've got nothing to hide here. It's not a difficult subject to deal with, and I don't know what the right answer is, but I'm sure the ratepayers would be very interested to hear what we have to say about it.
Thank you, Councillor Coley. Councillor Lucas, against the motion?
Thank you. And the reason I'm against it is when you read the report, which I assume everyone has, it identifies what the rent was for the premises from 2014 through to 2018, and then since March a further addition when only a fraction of that rent was realised. And I'm not going to read it out because I don't want to identify anyone, but if I can refer everyone to page 35 under the heading background, if you could just all please read the last sentence of the first paragraph. I don't want to identify any person, but there's other issues, and I think it's quite right that this item remain in the confidential item and not be brought out into the public arena. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lucas. Further speaker for the motion? Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I believe that we should discuss this in public. The reason for confidentiality states that it's because a contract entered into, which may be entered into by the local government and which relates to a matter to be discussed at the meeting. But it talks about the local government permits the meeting to be closed to the public. So just permits. So if the way this works is that if the CEO stamps the document as confidential, it becomes confidential. He's enabled to do that. But it doesn't require it. It's not essential for it to be confidential. It's up to this council to decide whether it remains confidential or whether it should be brought out into the open. The reason this one, in my view, needs to come out into the open, and it says the address is clearly identified. It is part of the Midland Oval redevelopment. And councillors, there was a long period of lack of transparency around what was going on in the Oval, and I believe that we need to have maximum transparency. I think councillors who have read this report will see that actually bringing it out into the public domain would indicate positive things to people. People will go, that's good. There's nothing bad in it at all. It's entirely positive. It reflects well on the council. It reflects well on the people involved in it. So, councillors, I'd urge you to get some positive news about the Midland Oval redevelopment master plan out into the public domain. So that's the reason I'm suggesting that we bring this out from behind closed doors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any councillors speak against the motion? No further speakers. Councillor Coley, you wish to... Councillor Catalani, do you wish to make a comment to close before we...
Yes, well, I just want to go back to the reasons why we're given as to why this should be confidential. And it doesn't say anything about disclosing any personal information about anybody in terms of, what they've done in the past. It's actually about endangering the security of the property and protecting public safety, and also about some kind of contravention, impairing the effectiveness of some law or some if there'd been a contravention of any law that wouldn't be able to be properly detected or enforced or something. So the point is, it's all about the property. So I just wanted to point out that actually, although there is information about the rental on that property and rental history of that property, it doesn't actually identify any particular person. So the report doesn't identify any person. Therefore, in fact, and that in itself doesn't relate to the reasons that were given for it to be confidential. So, we have to ask ourselves, if that was the reason for the confidentiality, then we'd have a different reason given to us in the report from staff. So I don't think it's been reasonably addressed, and I'm still convinced that we can bring this out of confidential and we can let ratepayers know what's going on, about what property we're talking about and what it is that we're going to decide to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Catalano. Those in favour of the motion to come out and bring this out public? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The rest are against. Motion's lost. Now motion to go behind closed doors. Move Councillor Parry, seconded Councillor Jones. Now behind closed doors. Can we stop the transmission?